is a god of the game.
Well, we thought the worst was over, but the Indian ODI team had other ideas. While the senior men's team were busy getting thrashed by South Africa, the under-19 boys were returning the favour by producing some spectacular batting. This game week, LaLiga saw three teams coming back from a 2-0 deficit, which means, is there a title race? Whereas in the Premier League, Southampton and the referees made sure there is still hope for Liverpool to catch City. Sergio Ramos' first goal for PSG, Smriti Mandhana on top of women's cricket, and mysteriously long bathroom breaks taking the headline in Australian Open. Let's go!
Absolutely world class!
Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Sports Charcha, where we are in the middle of an international break. Well, it's an actual break for European footballers, international break for South American, North American and Asian footballers who will be playing their qualifiers, and of course the African players are playing their AFCON. But yeah, there are a lot other things to talk about. India's abysmal show in South Africa, Under-19 World Cup, Australian Open, and as usual to do all that, let's welcome Ishan.
Hi guys, happy to be back. Lots to talk about. Let's get started.
Yeah, let's start off with the horrible show by the Indian senior men's cricket team. I think it's very important to mention that because the junior team is actually doing a pretty good job. We'll get to that. But yeah, as I said, 3-0 defeat against South Africa. Okay, ODI team South Africa is not as bad as the test team, but still 3-0. I mean, did you feel that the Indian players took it seriously?
I want to say something. I'm actually glad it was 3-0 because India almost won the third game and it would have, covered the cracks and it would have been quite an unjust result. But I think the 3-0, I think our ODI team, as you rightly said, I think we were a little overconfident. I wouldn't say overconfident as well. We were more relaxed, laid back. Going back home or ending the series was on our minds. This series overall has been pretty controversial. A lot of things have happened that shouldn't have happened. The dividing opinions on what Kohli did and how our selection went, who should be taken out, and we discussed this over the last episode. But I feel this is a very important stage in India's cricketing journey because we were almost one of the strongest teams, both in Test and ODIs, and suddenly we are looking at cracks. Has Bumrah been figured out in the three ODIs? Did he do very much? Was he effective on a bowling-friendly pitch? Because these are bouncy pitches that actually can cause distress. And the South African batsmen, especially in the ODIs, were pretty comfortable with him. Do we have a good spinner in ODIs? We don't, right?
Yeah. There is. Looks like there. Yeah.
So how
I mean, with Jadeja out, I mean, it's one player. I mean, Jadeja is an important player. I'm not trying to diminish the importance of Jadeja, but then like just removing that one player, the team suddenly looks weak. See, my personal understanding or the way I felt how it went was the players, I don't think they took the series, at least the ODI series, very seriously, and number two, players are fatigued. I mean, they have been playing since September. If you see IPL World Cup T20, then the New Zealand series, then the South African series. So I believe fatigue must have also played a little bit of factor, at least in the ODI part.
See, I get that, and that was the debate the English had with the Ashes debacle. But India, with the resources it happens, it can create an A, B, C, D team, right?
Yeah.
Do that, right? If South Africa has always been a very important series historically for India. There is no reason for us to not take it seriously just because you're fatigued. Because at the end of the day, you're representing your country. So anyone who was fatigued should have been rested. And if we lost that, we would have had a legitimate reason for it. But if you're fielding a full strength squad, people like us, you, me, and obviously the rest of the country want good results, right? So I understand that, but I don't have sympathy for that because especially with India's resources at hand, right? That cannot be an excuse. How many players who we thought should be in the 11 anyway were not even selected for the tour, right? Like Sanju Samson, for example, I have no idea how he does not make the Indian squad year after year of performing in T20s, etc., and in the Ranjis. So uh, I'm still on the fence with this one, but I also want to give a big up to how South Africa performed in this series. Tremendous! Like for the first time ever, I felt they were not given a shot in their home series, and they showed what they're worth mentally in terms of how they performed. Quinton de Kock retired from a lot of formats, and he scored a century in the last game, a brilliant knock. Uh, so kudos to them; they did incredibly well. I won't say it's a disaster for us, but I think both of us were talking about this. Something about Dravid, man. Like, it's when he was captain, everyone thought he's going to be the greatest captain ever because of how he thinks about the game. It didn't work out. I hope it's not the same case when it comes to his coaching. It's not a very auspicious start for him.
Yeah, and as you said, a big up to South Africa. They have found a very able leader in Themba Bavuma. I was superbly impressed. I mean, he is superb. He's the next big thing from South Africa. Jane Mullen, very interesting name, played a very crucial knock. De Kock, as you said, becoming a more and more mercurial figure for the South African ODI team. Everyone pitched in. Van der Dussen, the entire team was extremely well, and the ease with which they won the first two games. I mean, it was not even a contest. They just like walked all over India. Apart from the Deepak Chahar's rearguard action, I think it was pretty much a series to forget for Indian fans. Now, good. Now this is all done. Indian players are back home, and the focus is back on IPL. The big auction is coming up. 12th Feb, Lucknow team has their name finalized. Lucknow Super Giants. I'm pretty sure their marketing team must have some. I don't know. I don't want to comment on the competency of a marketing team, but they just chip-cowed Lucknow and removed Pune and just made the same.
I was thinking, where have I heard that name before? Like I don't understand. Like why does IPL fail with its name creativity? Look at the BBL. Like there's such cool names like Renegades, Stars, Thunder, Scorchers. There are names which have some merit to it. But our IPL teams are just ridiculous. Everything is related to either being a king or a knight or something super or being massive or huge. Like what is a super giant? A giant by definition is huge.
Exactly.
How can you call it's like Super Gulliver's Travel? That doesn't make sense, right?
See, the rising Pune Super Giants made some sense. I mean, I'm saying some sense because it was owned by RP Sanjeev Goenka. So RPSG, so they made it Rising Pune Super Giants. Lucknow Super Giants, who is running now? Some L Sanjeev Goenka? I mean, the first name comes to me is a Hindi curse word, which I don't want to say it here.
No, but I think either we go back in terms of, see, the irony of this is that the two really good names we ever had were probably one of the worst performing teams in IPL. Kochi Tuskers, great name. We know what happened to them. Deccan Chargers, great name. They changed their name to a really bad name now. And the other is being very obvious, like Delhi Capitals. So Mumbai Arabian Seas. Calcutta Howrahs, make it fucking obvious. Like, that's also creative.
No, I mean, at least make it something Nawabi, na? Like Lucknows are known for Nawabs.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Lucknow Tundes.
Anyways.
Lucknow Tundes.
Anyways, that's not our area of concern here. So, yeah, guys, auction is coming on. This is by far the biggest auction in the history of IPL. So, watch out for it. It's going to be for 2 days, full on action. But yeah, moving on from the disappointing senior team, let's move on to the impressive under 19 team. I mean, they are kicking ass. I mean, as we said before, Indian under 19 team have been stars for a while now. Last 3 editions, they reached the finals. This time, they won all their 3 games in spite of a minor COVID outbreak within the squad. The captain wasn't there. They won the first game against South Africa, which we talked about, but then they thrashed Ireland and a poor Uganda team. They defeated Uganda by 326 runs. An ODI game with a winning margin of 326 runs. I mean, these kind of things are only possible in under 19 and these kind of World Cups. It was great to see. I mean, were you able to catch up on the highlights or something? Some really hard-hitting batters, I
I
should say.
saw the highlights of the India-Uganda game. Obviously, inferior team. No offense to them, new country playing cricket. Great to watch them, but it's just superior talent right now with the Indian team. And some of the batsmen, they look like they're going to become something. My only fear is that this is just a platform to be for them to go into the IPL. It's the timing is perfect right now, and
Yeah,
then we
yeah.
know what happens, right? Anyone joins the Mumbai Indians will play for India or the RCB, actually not RCB anymore, but just Mumbai Indians.
I mean, one talent, the one talent who caught everyone's attention was Brevis from South Africa, who in many angle resembled the great ABD. I still think, I mean, obviously ABD is ABD. There is still a very, 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 very long way for Brevis to go to reach that level, but there are some signs. Hopefully, we see another legendary South African batter again coming up the
Yeah.
ranks. So yeah, so that's going on. The quarterfinals are on. England are playing South Africa. Afghanistan are playing Sri Lanka. Australia are playing Pakistan, and India are playing Bangladesh. That's a repeat of the last edition's finals. Remember, guys, Bangladesh are the reigning champions of the under 19 men's cricket World Cup. So that's on. So continue watching that. Let's support our Indian team and hope they come up trumps this time. Now, moving on to the women's cricket team. I mean, this wasn't a surprise at all. The ICC Cricketer of the Year were announced. I mean, all the awards were announced. Women's Cricketer of the Year, Smriti Mandhana, no brainer, absolutely.
Again, she's done it again. This is not the first time she's won it.
Yeah,
She's, I mean, she's just like I think she's my favorite Indian cricketer, male or female, right now.
yeah.
She went to the BBL, like, dominated, and she's done the same this year in the calendar year again in all formats of the game. So, congratulations to her. She's just amazing.
Yeah, congratulations, Smriti, and congratulations to Lizel Lee of South Africa, who won the women's ODI cricket, and Tammy Burma, who won the T20 Cricketer of the Year, women's from the women's cricket, and the men's cricket completely swept over by Pakistan. I mean, Shaheen Afridi won the men's Cricketer of the Year, Babar Azam ODI Cricketer of the Year, Mohammad Rizwan, T20 Cricketer of the Year. Again, I really don't have any grudge or any argument against these three choices. All three of them were exceptional. Joe Root won the Test Cricketer of the Year. I might have a slight argument there, but I believe Joe Root did well in a very, very poor performing England team. I think he's the only guy who did better there. Cool. So that's about it. Now, before wrapping up the cricket updates, we witnessed one of the most devastating T20 innings ever. I mean, we have seen Chris Gale's 180 against a Bangalore team. Not a Bangalore team. I think it was the Kochi team. I think it was a Kochi team, the then
Kochi
Kochi
Tuskers,
team.
Kochi Tuskers.
Yeah, it was a then Kochi team. And we have seen Brendan McCullum destroying RCB in the first ever IPL game. We have seen some of ABD's innings, but Glenn Maxwell, my God, 154 of 64 deliveries. Melbourne Stars has scored 273 in 20 overs. Is that a record? I mean, not know
Yes,
actually.
that is a record. And I know you spoke about a lot of great IPL innings, but since I'm an Australian fan, there are some incredible BBL innings to watch, and you guys should watch it on YouTube. There's Travis Head, Peter Hanscom, and Ben McDermott, who's probably one of my favorite cricketers in the BBL. He's the only player to do back-to-back hundreds. But Glenn Maxwell, that match, I think this season itself, he's actually shown his potential in terms of what everyone thought he could be. He's taken one incredible catch, spectacular, one of the catches of the year. And this innings, 154, he didn't take a risk. He didn't play any stupid shot. If you look at the highlights, obviously the bowling was abysmal. They were bowling short at his leg and he was just flicking it for six behind third man. Not too hard, but It's unbelievable. I saw a different mentality from Glenn Maxwell. I hope if he shows up at the IPL, we see some of that because he's a pure entertainer. He's like
Yeah,
what Afridi used to be for us when we were
yeah.
kids. Uh, and he almost would end his career like an Afridi that never achieved full potential. But I hope he doesn't do that. And the irony of it was, and Wala and I were discussing this, that the non-striker in that innings was Stoinis. And Stoinis was the previous record holder for the highest score in BBL history. So it was a great thing to watch and a great victory and a great performance.
Yeah, BBL is about to end. We have only two more games. I mean, we are recording this on Tuesday at night. So tomorrow there is a challenger game between Adelaide Strikers and Sydney Sixers, the winner of which will meet Perth Scorchers in the finals on Friday morning Indian time. So that's about it for all the cricket updates. In the next section, we will move on to European football, where we had some really exciting games over the weekend, some really important title race updates. So, yes, let's see you on the other side.
Absolutely world class.
Welcome back to Sports Charcha. Now moving on to European football, but instead of starting at EPL, which we usually do, we are going to start where the title race is getting really hot and the top 4 race is also heating up big time. A weekend where we had some exciting games. Yes, we are talking about La Liga. There were 3 games where the 3 top 4 contenders, in fact, 1 title contender, 1 challenger, and 1 top 4 contender came from 2-0 behind and 2 teams drawing and 1 team eventually going on to win the game. Now, let's start with Atletico Madrid versus Valencia. Atletico Madrid, I mean, they are going through a lean patch. In fact, Simeone said before this game in his press conference that this is the worst that he has seen Atletico gone through in his tenure, in the last 10 years of Simeone's tenure. And I don't think I'm going to argue against that. In fact, this is the worst I have also seen Atletico in a very long time. They are coming into this game after a 2-all draw against Villarreal, losing the Supercopa game against Athletic Club, losing the Copa del Rey game against Real Sociedad, and going 2-0 down in the halftime. But Atletico Madrid showed what Simeone says, cojones, and won the game 3-2. I mean, were you able to catch some highlights? What just happened?
I saw the entire game.
Wow.
I saw the entire game. The first half, Atletico Madrid was the same Atletico Madrid of the last 5-6 games. They were absolutely horrible. Valencia pummeled them from the kickoff till the 45th minute halftime whistle. It could have been many more goals, but Valencia had a really well-deserved 2-0 victory. And then in the second half, as you rightly said, I think everyone in the dressing room would have been slapped. I think there's that famous viral video of this coach slapping every single child player football. I think that's what Simeone did to the Atletico team, and they came out a different squad. This was also the first time ever I've seen the Wanda Metropolitana boo Simeone when he took off João Felix.
Wow.
It was quite a sight. I've never seen them boo, but it changed the game. Suarez, everyone came up clutch. End goal scored by, I think, by Hermoso defender, like a set piece, what we've known Atletico to score from. Well-deserved victory at the end, because in the second half, Atletico were the superior side, but what a game. Dramatic. They needed that win because they're so far off the pace in La Liga. It's become a joke right now, and it's good to see them back and getting some results.
This was the first time in Atletico Madrid's history that they have won a league game from a losing position by the end of the 90th minute. This has never happened before in the history of Atletico Madrid. Yeah. In the league, let me repeat.
They've never trailed and won ever in the league?
Yeah. After 90 minutes, after the stipulated 90 minutes time. So yeah, great win for Atletico. Not great for Barcelona, who themselves found it really hard to beat Alaves 1-0. It was one of the most boring and one of the worst games. Probably the worst game of the Xavi era. But yeah, what Barca need right now is a result, and a result is what they got. And they get into this international break with 1 point behind Atletico Madrid, whom they will face after they come back from the international break. So the next La Liga game is between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona, one of the most important 6 pointers of this season. Now, moving away from the top four contenders, the title elect or the champions elect versus the challengers Sevilla. Both of them were 2-0 down and they came back, draw the game 2-2. First get to Real Madrid. Benzema missing a penalty for the first time ever in his Real Madrid career, and then going off with a hamstring injury. I didn't read the recent updates. What's the update on the injury?
So I think he'll be fine for post the international break. He'll be back mostly for the PSG game, which is very important for us. But yeah, first penalty missed for Real Madrid. He's not, to be honest, taken too many penalties due to a certain CR7. Uh, but it was, I think it was again, we discussed this last time. Real Madrid come up with these anomaly results, which are not expected and not deserved. I think it's something to do with the opposing team. The last time a team had more than 7 players out due to either COVID or injury was Shakhtar Donetsk against Real Madrid, and they thrashed Real Madrid. Elche had 9 players out, and they didn't have a bench. And in the match, in the 30th minute, one of their players got injured and got taken off, and they didn't have the right player to see. And then Madrid had a lot of chances, but they just couldn't convert. But luckily, after being 2-0 down, as usual, Madrid style, they came back. Eder Militao is the new Sergio Ramos. I've said it. I put it out in the universe. Uh, he gets far lesser red cards. He's now scoring clutch goals. But what made me really happy was Eden Hazard had a really good game. He played really well. He started the game. He was, in the middle of things. He was creating a lot of chances, etc. It was very good to watch him. Another fun fact: Luka Modric scored his first penalty for Real Madrid in his 10th season.
Yeah.
So, although it's drop points, it doesn't affect us that badly because Sevilla dropped their game in hand points as well. So, yeah, we would have had a 6 point lead, but we now go away with a 4 point lead, which is fine in the international break. The important thing to note for this season, which could end up being dramatic, is Sevilla have the head-to-head over us this season, and the La Liga is decided on head-to-head.
Yeah, and Sevilla, as you said, drew their game against Celta Vigo 2-2. Again, they were 2-0 down by halftime, and they came back scoring 2 goals. Papu Gomez and Oliver Torres scored their goals. Sevilla, again, a depleted squad. They have a lot of injury problems, a lot of COVID issues. In fact, Lopetegui himself was isolated. He wasn't there in the bench. And today I saw the news. Looks like Anthony Martial is heading to Sevilla. His loan deal is going to get completed. Hopefully, we'll see the official announcement very soon. So yeah, that's where we are with La Liga. It's heating up very nicely. Real Madrid still are the favorites. Carlo Ancelotti is in line to win that one elusive title, that one elusive trophy that is missing in his glorious cabinet, which is the La Liga. If he wins this, he will become the only manager ever to win leagues in all the 5 top leagues. So, yeah, let's see how that goes. Now, moving on to the other league, the English Premier League. Now, see, this particular game happened pretty much 6 days before, or even 7 days before. I don't, in fact, forgot when it happened. But the way the game ended, this game deserves at least 2 minutes of this podcast time. Yes, guys, we are talking about Leicester versus Tottenham. Apologies for bringing this up after a week, but dude, this game deserves. I was watching this game live. It was late night for me to shout because there are people sleeping around, so I don't want to disturb them, but I wanted to shout. Oh my God.
I mean, it reminded me of the Ajax comeback Spurs did in the Champions League a couple of seasons ago when Poch was the manager. But I think for anyone who's missed the game, go to the Spurs YouTube channel and see the highlights when the the local Spurs commentators doing the match, the reactions in the 95th and the 97th minute when Burgoyne scores. Oh my God. Like it was, I mean, who would have thought? Like, 2-1 down, 93rd minute, and against the run of play, Burgoyne equalizes, and from kickoff, they steal. Tielemans gives away the ball. Kane does a through ball to Burgoyne, and he slots it away for a winner in the 96th minute. Unbelievable. This is what I think. This is why we love, both of us love, and a lot of the entire world loves football, because of for dramatic moments like this, and it's unbelievable.
Also, Tottenham broke an EPL record for the latest ever winning comeback after trailing for almost 94 minutes. Guess whose record they broke?
Give me a hint,
It was one of the most.
because I'm inclined to say United.
This is one of the most iconic moments in EPL's history.
Wow. Oh, Aguero.
Aguero, yes. It's City winning against QPR when Dzeko scored the first goal and Aguero followed it up with, yeah, I mean, which is eventually the most important goal, one of the most, or probably the most important goal ever scored in EPL history. Yes, so that's where, so EPL again, coming back to this weekend fixtures. Well, this weekend games, we can summarize it with 2-3 points. One is horrible refereeing decisions. One bizarre penalty. Like, I'm a Liverpool fan. I was watching the game. I was going, Diego Jota, what are you doing, man? What is this? What are you doing? And then, like, with the referee awarded a penalty. I mean, dude, are you guys serious? It's not just one referee. One referee in the VAR panel and one on-field referee. Both thought that it's a penalty. I don't understand, man. I really don't understand. And it's a complete joke.
But I also want to say Spurs went back to default against Chelsea.
Yeah, because my next refereeing decision was that game. Was that really a push Harry Kane on Thiago Silva, or Thiago Silva uses experience?
Experience, complete experience. You see it. I saw it. Like you see it 100 times on highlight. It's Thiago Silva being the smartest person in the room. He knows how it works. He's like a seasoned vet, and he played it perfectly,
Yeah.
like a Brazilian would do.
Yes. And yeah, coming back to the Tottenham Chelsea game, Chelsea probably wouldn't mind facing Tottenham 5 or 6 times in a league in the season. And this season they have played them 4 times and they have won what, 8-0 in aggregate. Like, Tottenham haven't scored. Tottenham apparently haven't scored a goal against Chelsea. Or let me put it this way. The last time a Tottenham player scored a goal against Chelsea in the league, Sarri was their manager. Hazard was still playing for Chelsea. It's that bad. The Tottenham, I mean, it goes to show the gulf in gap between the two squads, basically, the quality of the players that they have. Lukaku had a decent game. Again, not the best Lukaku that we have seen, but definitely not the worst Lukaku we saw last week. So he had a better game. But yeah, the most important players, Hakim Ziyech, again, a worldie. It's, again, one of the contenders for the goal of the season. The ball couldn't have gone anywhere else. It landed at the perfect spot. I mean, incredible goal. Incredible win for Chelsea, actually. But apart from Chelsea's win and Liverpool's win, the result that actually made this weekend more interesting is Man City dropping points against Southampton. Who would have thought? I mean, again, it's the 13th game, the unlucky number. All those voodoo effects came to assist Liverpool and Chelsea. I mean, I still don't think there is a title race. Man City are still way ahead in terms of the challenge. But yeah, if there was a slight chance, a slight glimmer of hope, Southampton provided that. It was a 1-1 draw. Did you see the post-match interview of Pep?
I didn't see the interview, but I was just wanted to. I saw the highlights. I think Southampton gave a very good show of themselves throughout the game. Obviously, don't look at possession. Don't look at chances created, because obviously you'll see the City dominate that. But if you look at the highlights, it was a pretty solid performance by Southampton in terms of the division or the disparity in talent they had across the field. So, I would give big shout out to the Saints for that. But yeah, go ahead. What did Pep say?
I mean, like, see, I love Pep. I mean, I'm a Barcelona fan. I adore that man. But it is always fun to see Pep press conference after a defeat or after a draw. He just loses it, bro. So when the Sky Sports presenter asked him how was the performance, Pep went, "This is the best performance of the season so far." And then the presenter said, like, really? And then Pep took a pause, like he stared at him for like 2 seconds, and then went closer to the mic and said, "By far." I mean, that guy is so fun to watch in a press conference after a loss. But yeah. I mean, City, as I said, right? Like it's very funny to watch City when they go a goal behind. They get so flustered. They press so hard. It's like it's very uncomfortable for them to go behind, and you see their defense breaking up. You see they getting exposed.
But you've seen that with
So
Pep
yeah.
teams, right? Throughout, like when he was at Barcelona, even when he was at Bayern. If you crack City early on, like what Arsenal did a couple of weeks ago, where the first 20 minutes against City, they were completely dominant. If they had scored, you're completely right. Pep's teams crack under pressure. I don't know, they just lose their brains. And we've seen that when Bayern faced Real Madrid, when they got thrashed. We've seen how Barca used to get thrashed by Bayern. Once they start trailing, it's very tough. But meaning again, this season, I think it's a write-off. I still think City is winning it. Uh, but yeah, it makes it a little more interesting. Gives Liverpool a bit of a stand to see if there are chances, if there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, talking about race getting interesting, top four is getting interesting again. The tables have shifted there. United are on the fourth position after. Well, the performance was very impressive. I have to say this was a very, I would say, I would use the word control, which something Ragnick wanted to use or wanted to express for a while. So United had a control performance. Obviously, they fell short up front, and in the end, Ragnick just threw kitchen sink. He brought in Martial. There was Ronaldo, Cavani, Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, everyone on the pitch, and eventually those five players combined to score that final decisive goal. And very happy for Rashford, man. I mean, the guy had his own problems. He's been having a tough time on the pitch. But yeah, good to see him scoring. He scored the last goal against Brentford also. Again, a very important goal against West Ham. So yeah, very very good one for Manchester United. They are on fourth position right now, and the fact that they defeated West Ham. Yes, I mean they are one of the contenders for the top four position, even though they have some injury problems. They don't have that big a squad like the other contenders. So that race is getting interesting because out of the four teams that are contesting for that fourth spot, Arsenal drop points, Tottenham drop points, and obviously West Ham drop points. So that race is getting quite interesting. So yeah, a lot to look forward to once when the players come back from the injury break. So that is it for EPL. Now moving on to Serie A, where the race is slightly getting a little boring. I Do you see Inter peeling off slowly? I mean, they now have what, about 4 points, 5 points away. In fact, they are 4 points away with a game in hand. So that's potentially 7 points off Napoli, who's second, not Milan. So Inter, it's too early, or
I mean, Inter are just solid. This season, they're just solid. Like in previous years, I would have said, even under Conte, I would have said that there's still a sniff. But under Simone Inzaghi, they just feel very like you feel very confident of a result going Inter's way when a match starts. And in the last match against, I think it was against Venezia, they were losing, trailing, and then Dzeko came back and scored a last gasp winner as well. So things are going their way as well. They've botched their luck, and they're getting results all out of the way. And the other teams in the league, Napoli, Milan, they are constantly dropping points, and they have games against each other left as well. So there will be points dropped there. So it looks really good for Inter to defend their title. But yeah, anything can happen, man. But I'm confident Inter can do it.
Also, the fact that Milan dropped points in two consecutive games. I mean, we all know they lost to Spezia last weekend, and this weekend they drew against Juventus, and it was a nil-nil game. I mean, if I tell you that Milan played Juventus and it was a nil-nil game, 9 out of 10 times one would assume that it was a boring draw. But this wasn't boring, actually. This was a very good game. I saw the whole game. Milan had some decent chances, but they really couldn't hit the net. Juventus, yeah, did well. They were solid at the back, but again, they couldn't trouble Maignan much. There was one interesting news that came out of this week that both Inter and Milan played at San Siro on the same weekend, which doesn't happen a lot, because of which the pitch had some issues, players had a lot of problems. Zlatan was taken off way too early. Giroud came to replace him, and he didn't have a great game. He had a couple of decent chances, but fluffed it. So yeah, Inter eventually won this game week, and as I was saying before, they are now 4 points ahead. The top four race is getting interesting. Atalanta once again drew their game. They are 1 point ahead of Juventus with a game in hand. So the top four race is getting pretty interesting. Roma had a good win. They defeated Empoli 4-2. In fact, they were 4-0 up in the first half, and the second half they conceded 2 goals and didn't score any. And when during the post-match, when the reporter was asking what happened in the second half, Mourinho went that they wanted, Mourinho said that he wanted to give something interesting to the viewers. He doesn't want the viewers to change the channel and watch something else. So that's why Roma conceded 2 goals and made the game interesting for the viewers. Yeah.
Typical Mourinho.
He's going full Mourinho. So that's where Serie A is right now. Inter, as we said, 4 points away with a game in hand. Bundesliga, nothing much happened. It's the same old story. Dortmund won their match. Bayern won their match. But yeah, the only news is Bayern scored 4 goals without Lewandowski scoring. I mean, that's has to be the headlines in European
news. That's exactly our podcast title. Lewandowski exactly. Didn't score.
When Bayern scored 4. But forget about Lewandowski not scoring. Sergio Ramos opened his account for PSG. PSG won their game. They played Ram. They defeated Ram 4-0. Again, a very boring first half performance. But again, second half, Pochettino brought in the big guns and they won 4-0. Sergio Ramos scored his first goal. And he is right now tied with Lionel Messi in terms of number of league goals this season, and he has played at least 15 games less than him.
Yeah, meaning what I fear that Ramos is going to do something drastic and decisive in the Champions League against us. It's a very awkward feeling I have right now. When he scored, and I assumed that he would probably be injured, probably we skipped that game. It would have been good for my heartstrings. But now I think he's getting into form, and he post the match and I'm looking forward to play Real Madrid. I didn't like the way he said that. It made me a little uncomfortable, because you have one of our saviors against Barcelona and one of our nightmares against Barcelona now playing against us together. That is not a very comfortable sight for me. And to add to that, one of our future superstars, hopefully by next season. Imagine all three combine and knock us out. That won't be a very funny experience for me.
Oh, also the fact that unvaccinated players cannot play in France. So some of the Real Madrid and Chelsea players might not feature in the away legs. So that's another problem for Real Madrid when they face PSG at Paris. So that's about it for all the European updates. Now let's move on to the African Cup of Nations, which has been happening for the last 2 weeks, and it has already seen a lot of upsets. Tournament favourites Algeria, the reigning champions, who came into the tournament with about 33 games unbeaten record, they lost in the group stages itself. They are out, and so does Ghana, again another favourites who got eliminated in the group stages itself. Now we're in the round of 16, where we probably have seen the biggest upset of all. Tunisia has defeated Nigeria 1-0 in the round of 16, and they are through to the quarterfinals. Cameroon versus Cape Comoros game had a very, very unfortunate incident. There was a stampede outside the stadium, and I saw the latest reports about 8 people have lost their lives. It's very unfortunate, very sad to see that happening. And yeah, Cameroon, the host nation, they won their game 2-1, and they are also through to the quarterfinals. Senegal, who are again one of the favorites, they defeated Cape Verde 2-0, so they are also through. And we have Egypt facing Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire, again one of the tournament favorites. So that game is happening.
Bro, everyone you're naming is a favorite.
See, the
You just named 8 countries and said one of the favorites after that.
okay, let me explain it properly. The pre-tournament favorites were Algeria, Senegal, Ivory Coast, and Cameroon. But Nigeria wasn't a pre-tournament favorites. They became favorites after they started playing the tournament. But yeah, right now it's between Senegal, Cameroon, and the winner of Ivory Coast and Egypt. So Ivory Coast will be playing Egypt. For Liverpool's sake, I hope Egypt loses. So if there are any Egypt fans, please forgive us.
Egypt is not one of the favorites.
No, Egypt is not one of the favorites. Actually, apart from Salah, they are one of those. They are the 2018 Argentina team where the remaining 10 players have nothing else to do. All they can do is to give the ball to Messi and think and like expect him to do something magical. And that's what's happening with Egypt. And Salah is like isolated all the time. So yeah, it's pretty sad out there. So yeah, guys, that's about it for all the European football updates. As I was saying, this is a break. So no European action for the next 2 weeks. So we have all the World Cup qualifiers, the South American, North American, Asian World Cup qualifiers happening. In fact, South American qualifiers pretty much wrapped up. Brazil and Argentina are already through. So you have the other ones fighting for the qualification places. Uruguay, Colombia, all of them are fighting. So those games will be interesting if you are really interested in watching them. Matches happen at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. time. So watch out for that. So that's about it for all the major updates this week. Now, in the next section, we will quickly talk about what's going on at the Australian Open.
Absolutely world class.
Welcome back to Sports Charcha, where in the Australian Open we have the first semi-final lineup ready for both men and women's singles. In the men's singles, we have Rafael Nadal facing Berrettini. He was the losing Wimbledon finalist, for those who remember. And Rafael Nadal defeated Shapovalov in a slightly controversial yet an interesting 5-setter. And they will be facing off each other in the first semi-finals. The other semi-finals will happen between the winner of the 2 remaining quarterfinals game. One of them is between Daniel Medvedev, who himself is having a very interesting time with the Australian Open crowd. He will be facing the Canadian Felix Auger-Aliassime. People who remember watching French Open, he had a pretty good French Open. In fact, a French origin Canadian player. The other quarterfinal is between Tsitsipas and Yannick Sinner. Now, the Nadal game, he won the first 2 sets, and Shapovalov came back winning the 3rd and the 4th set, and he had an incredible momentum going. However, mysteriously, Nadal took a 6-minute bathroom break, and he came back, and guess what? He won the 5th set 6-3. Now, isn't this happening quite a lot these days? I mean, this is a little shady.
And I think Shapovalov called it out in the match. Like he after the game, he said that this has happened far too often. He used the word rigged. But I don't know what to say. I don't particularly appreciate these breaks because it's very evident. Tennis is one sport where the break actually changes momentum because the freedom of taking the break is on the player, not on the situation. Like in football, there is a minute break. There's a break for temperature. It's given to both parties, no matter the momentum. But here, generally, the 6 minute breaks always happen when the momentum is against that player. And I think that is something the rules have to change to protect that from happening, because I think it's almost 100% rate that when the momentum is against you, a break is taken and the momentum is gone, and it works completely the other way around. So I really feel for Shalpalov. He had a great comeback. I saw the highlights of that game. Nadal got lucky,
Yeah.
but I think Nadal got very lucky, and his age is finally showing
Yeah.
in that body of his.
Yeah. True.
So it's going to be testing for him in the semi-finals for sure. Because if it goes 5 sets again, it will really be tough for him.
Yeah, and in the women's side, we have an Australian, Ashley Barty, the number one seed. She is still there.
I apologize for what Bala just did. Guys, everyone, sorry.
I cannot say Australia normally. I'll have to say Australia with an accent all the time. And I'm going to be very honest, I really don't know the other contenders. None of them I have heard of before. So, which pretty much happens with every Grand Slam when it comes to women's singles. You always have a new player coming up all the time. I wanted Emma to do well, but then again, she lost in the first or second round itself. So, yeah.
She made too much money, bro. After Wimbledon, every single brand signed her. She's on every cover page. And she's gone, like, she's now the new Sharapova.
Yeah, she won the Sports Personality of the Year, na? BBC Sports Personality of the Year. So yeah, she is.
Which means she'll never win a Grand Slam again. I hope she wins, because I really like her, because she's a great player.
Hope she doesn't take the Andy Murray route.
Wow. That's a bit harsh. That's a little mean Bala today.
Alright guys, that's about it for today's episode. We had a lot of fun recording it. Hope you had a lot of fun listening to it. Now we will be back next week again with a lot of updates, and we are also working on a brand new format where we are going to go a little deeper into certain sports topics, with also having all the updates within the same episode. And also we will be coming up with a brand new video format also. Yes, you guys have been listening to our voices all this while. Hopefully you will be able to see the faces and also like our faces. So until then, it is bye from Bala.
And bye from Ishan, guys. And happy Republic Day to everyone listening to us in India. Have a great midweek holiday. Much needed break for all of us.
Thank you everyone for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please make sure you hit the subscribe button, and also please, like we are literally begging, to rate our podcast on whichever app you are listening to. It not only helps us, but also helps new listeners to find our podcast easily. You can also reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram @SportsCharcha. A big shout out to the Jam Room Audio for our theme music. You can follow the Jam Room on Facebook @the Jam Room Audio. Bye!